getting right into it, I really just want to talk to you and make this about resilience. And and I think, I want to hear a little bit of your story about how you got to where you are, because I
Yeah.
know that it probably took a lot of resilience and flexibility to get there. So maybe we can just start with like, first of all, like, who is Yante? How did you get here?
Yeah. Um, well, nothing but the grace of God, first and foremost. I wouldn't be in the position at all if it wasn't for God, and definitely my mom. So I was born in Michigan. Um, I moved to California when I was 7, moved back to Michigan when I was 12. 12, yeah. And I played basketball since I was 4. I actually started off with soccer first, and then I went to basketball. Um, I would like to say soccer helped me a whole bunch of my footwork, but it didn't. Growing up, I was really clumsy. I would trip over my feet all the time. So, like, throughout middle school and freshman year of high school, I'd probably be on the floor more than I'd be upright,
Wow.
which is really crazy. Yeah. So when I tell people that, they're like, "You used to be bad at basketball." I was like, "Yeah, you're not always like good at the things that you love."
Wow, I love that.
And so I just kept with it. I played all the time. And the more you're around something and that you love, the better you're going to get at it. So I think that's one thing that's like very important for anybody, for like really anyone. It doesn't matter if it's just sports or whatever. If you like it, just stick with it, or around it at least. You'll pick up cues, you'll pick up tendencies, and you'll get better at it. But I ended up, my body also caught up with my height, or my coordination caught up with my height.
Yeah.
I think sophomore year, because I was growing pretty fast, and it was just bad. It wasn't a good story.
I get a random question, but like, at what age were you? You're 6. How tall are you?
6'8".
6'8". At what age did you get to 6'8"?
Pretty sure that was high school. I ended up getting up to, I think that was like my junior, senior year, one of the two. I think it was like senior year. I think that's when I probably like reached like my height, the max height. I think I grew like maybe an inch. But yeah, I've always been taller than everybody. It's just been a progressive thing. I didn't like have one summer where I like grew like 5 inches or anything. I was just naturally just taller, and I just grew at a more just a faster rate than everybody else.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I was just super short one day and then just sprouted up. It was just naturally like since I was little.
Yeah,
gradually. Yeah.
Wow.
But I ended up getting an offer to Georgia, Michigan State, and Indiana my senior year. I got more than that, but those are like the main ones.
Yeah.
And it really came down to Georgia and Indiana. Oh, Colorado was a big one too. I was thinking about Colorado, but Georgia and Indiana came down to. And me and my mom, we both prayed and really kind of figured it out. Tried to we left it up to God where I was going to go, because I didn't really know. Like, as a college kid, as a high school kid, one had my degree and one was good for basketball. Like, Indiana was the basketball route. Like, if I wanted to try to play professionally, Indiana may have given me a better shot, just due to the fact that they're a basketball school, but Georgia had my degree or whatnot. But when we prayed, it felt like God was saying, go to Georgia. And my mom heard we went into separate rooms. I went into my room, my mom went into her room.
Wow.
And we came back and asked what God said. Asked each other what God said, and we both said Georgia.
Wow.
And so once we did that, there's no doubt in my head that that's where I needed to be, whether I felt like I should go to a basketball school or not, So, and that's what I left up to God, because I know that would be that's a big turning point, like where God wants you to be in life,
Wow.
And
That's
so
crazy, because I didn't even know your story, obviously, but it's crazy because when I was thinking about this question and like when that turning point started, I
Right.
would never really guessed that it was a decision that was so influenced by faith, you know? So I think, I think that's beautiful that from early in your life, like your mom has always been a person that has instilled that in you and that come to that moment, like you really were like, you know what, God, like I'm going to surrender this decision to you. And that's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And that's my mom is definitely growing up. She was my backbone when it came to my faith. She was always there helping me and guiding me back to Christ, you know? And so whenever I get distracted or whatever, she would just always push me back or help me get back, you know? And so she's always helped me with that, and I've been grateful for it since. But so I ended up going to Georgia, and I had my freshman year, I had an okay game. My freshman year, I had an okay season. I actually got hit by a car my freshman year, and yeah, everybody. it was interesting. So I was in a crosswalk, and a car hit me in the crosswalk on campus. I was perfectly fine. Like I did a flip and everything. It was a whole story.
No way.
But it was in the basketball season or whatnot. They didn't say I had a concussion, but they said I had concussion like symptoms or whatnot. And so I missed a couple games or whatever. It wasn't anything too serious. I didn't really like wonder if I was going to be the same or anything. It was like really nothing. That was just the grace of God too. And I had a pretty good season from then on. And then sophomore seasons, when it took off, it was kind of the same thing as high school. Freshman year is the adjustment period where I had to learn, figure out like how I was going to play at this level, train my body, train my work ethic and my habits to figure out how I was going to be good at this level, you know? And so freshman year was a transition year, and then sophomore year I blossomed. I went from averaging like 6 points to what is that? 18 maybe or 17. It jumped up a lot.
What do you think triggered that? Like, do you think it was just like the past few years of, working your habits, getting your body to where it needs to be? Or do you think it was like a mental, like you had like a moment where you're like, no, like what made that?
Right. With sports, a lot of it is confidence, but it's also work behind it. When you work hard at something, like you're putting hours and hours of practice in a gym, like you're in there you're in there in the morning, you're in there during practice, and then you're in there during night, and you're practicing a certain shot, you're practicing a play, whatever it is, you're practicing your craft. This is what you love to do. You're going to be confident in it naturally, So once I put enough time into the gym, that's when a lot more confidence was coming to me, And I think that's just through work and just trust. I had coaches' trust in me. I had the most trust in myself that I was good enough to be on this court and I was better than this other person. Because that's what it is. That's what athletics is you going out and trying to beat someone else, And so, like, you have to think that you're better than them. It's not that you're being cocky or you're being, like, anything like that or transcendent. You just have to have confidence that you put in more work than that person, so I'm going to outplay you,
Wow.
That you're better than that person, so you're going to outplay them or outwork them or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like you set the vision of who you are and want to be, and like know that the work that you've put behind it is gonna catch up to that. But you gotta it's like declaring it kind of.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And the more time you just sit and study like what you have to do, because it all starts with Well, first off, it all starts with having somebody else there. It's really hard to continue and to get to another platform or another level when you're there by yourself. You know, you always need that somebody that's like kind of guiding you and coaching you. And so for me, that was Coach Jonas, who was on my coaching staff. We would be in the gym for just hours, just working on a certain type of shot, you know. And it was the same shot, repetitive again, day after day. And it's the exact same shot, but it's the same shot that I took in the game and that I made at like a crazy high percentage, you know. And that was my post hook or whatever. And so even to this day, that's still something that's very strong, like ability of mine is to score around the rim, just because I put so much work towards that. I'm just the most comfortable right there, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting because I feel like sometimes, like we do hear a lot of like, oh, you know, you need to find someone, like if you want to succeed, you know, go with people, go together, stay accountable. But I think when I hear you say this, more and more I hear like, really, like you need mentorship. Like you need someone who's like a coach. And I feel like I love that. But sometimes that's like really hard to find in real life because you obviously as a coach, like he wants you to succeed and he wants to believe in you, obviously, because it's also part of what he's there to do. Like it fulfills his purpose if he can help you fulfill yours.
Right.
And I think that's what's so amazing about sports. And it's somehow a little bit like, how do you start? Like, I'm thinking like, how do I start to transfer that to my life? Like, and I think it's possible through like conversations, getting to like, hey, I admire you. I know that you can help me. Like, to find like mentorship, find someone to coach you because it's like I'm impacted by what you're saying that like without someone, without that person, without this coach, you wouldn't practice your best shot that even today is where you feel more confident in. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, and I have like somebody like that for every area of my life. They may not always be a coach or someone in mentorship, but I always have a friend that's helping me in a certain area of life. And I think that's like one of the most important things. Like you may have like your real group of friends, but I think like what helps you grow is having those certain friends that are pushing you in certain areas, you know? For instance, I had my best friend, he pushes me in my work ethic life and he pushes me in my faith. You know, we always said that we would stay true to ourselves throughout college, you know, stay true to ourselves. That's always been we made a pact when we were in high school playing basketball that we will always stay true to ourselves no matter where we are in life, you know. But I think just having those people that you know are better than you in that certain area is always going to help you, you know. It's always going to help you progress, you know, even if there may not be that coach or that person that's mentoring you, you know. Just having that person around you and you talking about those things is going to naturally have you grow, you know. But like I said, you have to put work towards each of those areas of your life, you know.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's like being able to remain coachable because a lot of the time, maybe we do have those friends, maybe we do have that person that wants to see us succeed, but sometimes we don't take that as well. So I feel like, you know, as an athlete, it's really, I mean, as an athlete, maybe speak to that. Like, does that come naturally? Like that ability to be able to be coachable, or is that something that like you feel is nurtured? And I think with that in mind too, like the work ethic behind it, like do you feel that discipline that you had to have, did it come naturally out of your personality, or do you feel like it was like nurtured throughout your life?
Yeah, so I think I've been naturally coachable throughout my life. And I've had teammates that weren't, you know, and I've had teammates that were, but it really comes down to just you and you making the decision that you're going to listen, you're going to just work hard, and you're going to find an opportunity. It's hard because with athletics, it's really different than a lot of other things, but it's also kind of not. You can relate it to is you're working extremely hard at trying to do your job, but your job is to beat somebody else out, even on your team. You know, you want to be a starter on your team. You don't want to come off the bench. You want to be ahead of that person, you know, but that coach. But you have to listen to the coach and try to be coachable, but then still try to beat somebody else out, you know. And so like it's hard because this person just may have had coach may like that person a lot more for whatever reason, you know. But then you're expected to be coachable, and then you know, like listen to the coach when he's maybe giving someone else unfair shot over you, you know. But I mean, I think that's also, you can relate that to life, to job, to work life, whatever. Like people just have is different. You get different. I don't know. It's just not always fair, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think for sure, like some people, and we experience it too, you know, like some people sometimes carry more favor, sometimes you carry more favor, and yes, ability may come into play, but sometimes, you know, I really do think like whether you believe in God or not, like God favors people that may not even believe in him, and that's because God loves everyone, you know. So but I do think, you know, that favor isn't the end all, you know. Like yes, like we walk with it and we're grateful for it, and I think God's gonna put those opportunities, but you have to be like prepared, and you have to have the right character for those moments, and I think that's a lot with just staying open to listening. I think a lot of the times people, and I'll talk for myself, like I'll be more ready to talk than to listen, and sometimes we just gotta like stay back and listen. And I think the more that you listen, that's just, you know, you're always just gonna receive more, make your character better, because you're just able to absorb more information, and that's gonna, it just makes you wiser ultimately. I think it's what
For
it is.
sure.
So yeah, I love that. I'm sure in this career, you've faced many roadblocks, oppositions, maybe even like that moment from going to college to then playing professional. Like, what is some advice that you could give to where or maybe like describe a moment where like you had to remain flexible, but you still didn't lose that goal of I'm gonna play professional.
Yeah. So it was my junior year. I wanted to go to the NBA. Like I didn't really think of going to the NBA, I think, till maybe the end of sophomore year. And then junior year, I was like, I want to go to the NBA. Like, this is a dream of mine. People were in my ear saying, like, you can go to the NBA, you can do it. Like, because of the numbers I was averaging, they were like, you can do it. We see you on some draft boards, like potentially. You just got to keep playing and work at it or whatever. So I was like committed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I want to go to the NBA this year, like towards the end of the season. And it was just around the same time I ended up actually spraining my MCL during the season. And so I was like,
oh man,
well, there goes that. You know, like I'm not gonna be able to finish the season. It was more towards the end of the season too. And they were talking about the recovery is going to take a long time. I may not be able to play the rest of the season. And like, I don't know how that affect, like if I was trying to go to declare for the draft or not. And so like for the first, I don't ever get down. Like
yeah,
never.
I was gonna ask you, like, how was that? How did you receive that? Was it like more emotionally, or like what was your response?
I was actually good, but as time, like I was good when it first happened, and I forget how long it took me to get back right, but it took me a little while. And when the thing with injuries is that it takes more to get back healthy than it is to play the sport. You know, when you're recovering and you're rehabbing, it's way harder than actually training to play the sport that you're doing, you know? it's like twice, 3 times as hard. And so like anytime you get hurt, it's just a whole nother long process, you know? And so it's mentally draining. But like the devil was just trying to say, like, you're not gonna be able to play in the NBA this year, blah blah blah. This like he was just trying to put little words in my head or whatever, and I was like, and I was starting to like kind of get down or whatever. I'm like, I'm not this, you know, and all these other things, but that's not me at all, you know. And so anytime anytime negative things come to my head, like I just rebuke it. Like I say, no, like I don't have any room for that because I'm a naturally positive person. I don't like
incredible. Literally,
like
yeah. No, I mean that's. I wish I could be. I'm like the opposite. Yeah, no, for real. Like you're talking, I'm like, I love that. How do I get more of that? Because I will naturally, and it's funny because, you know, I know where the negative thoughts are coming from. Like I know, you know, and I know that I could like step up and be like, nope, that's not what I believe. That's not the truth. But somehow it's like, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like when you break a diet and then like you start with one cookie and then you're like, whatever, I already broke it. Let me have all the cookies. I feel like that's what I go through with negative thoughts. It's like I think of one and then of like instead of just right there stopping it, I just feed and feed and feed. And then obviously after feeding so many thoughts, it's just easy to be like, I'm done, you know, like I don't even want to do this anymore. And so I admire that you're just saying like it's not part of my personality. I've always been, you know, more optimistic. And if you have one thought, like you just stop it right there. Like, do you think I don't know, like is it something I mean you say it's like natural to you, but like what is it like what practical advice would you give to someone that you do that could help someone to, you know, being faced with like something that's just, you know, like you were faced with something that was gonna interrupt your dream and you didn't let that. Like what happened mentally that I know for you it's natural, but like if you could explain what happened to you internally and then like how did you make that change?
Yeah, so I think my thoughts when that happened, it was like negative. I'm not going to be able to pursue my dream, like all these things that were popping in my head, and I was like, I know I'm gonna get past this. Like it's always life is always going to be ups and downs, as you always know. But when I get a negative thought in my head, I personally like I don't remember who I heard this from. But I was told, or I heard it, I think on like maybe a podcast or I forget what it was, but basically they said your thoughts are like a train and your head like a railroad station or whatever. Like you can, you can ride, you can hop on the train on the bad thought and continue to think about it or whatever and pay the price or whatever, or because the thoughts are going to come to your head. You may not always have control over what thought just popped in your head, you know? But you have the choice to ride that out, or you can just let it go past to the station, you know?
True.
And so when you master that ability, you'll have so much less stress in life, you know? Because when that happened, I wrote it for maybe a day or a couple days or whatever. But then I see life in just about everything, you know. Like I saw this as another opportunity for me, for God to use this weakness of mine for His glory. You know?
Wow.
And so that's something that I told me, and that got me right back on track. You know, and so like you just have to figure out what is going to let you see the brightness of whatever the situation is, you know, and that may be different every single time, you know. So I think look.
What did I mean? At what point? So you started to recover and train, And how did that leap happen from like being in college and then playing, like being drafted?
Um, from college to the NBA. You're
Yeah.
asking how that happened? Yeah. So I didn't end up getting drafted. My senior year, I went back. So I got hurt my junior year. I rehabbed. I tried out for some different teams. I put my name, but I took it back out to go play back my senior year. Did my senior year. I was on a couple draft boards. I didn't get drafted. But that in the summer after my college year, I ended up going to summer league, and through summer league, that's how I got the opportunity to play for the Miami Heat.
Got it.
And that was nothing but the grace of God too. I went there and I had a great summer league, and
Wow.
I played with them, and I ended up getting a 2-way contract with the Heat. Yeah.
Wow. So that's how you ended up in Miami.
That's how I ended up in Miami. Yeah, Miami and Sioux Falls, because Miami. G League team is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so I'll travel between the two throughout the year. That's why sometimes you see me, sometimes you wouldn't for time on end or whatnot. So,
Do you think that once you were to that level, like you had that same thought of, okay, how do I play at this level now? What
mm-hmm.
do you feel
Yeah.
like your
Yeah.
lifestyle habits like got stepped up as well, or do you like what changed? I guess on the practical kind of day-to-day work life habits in you now that you were like stepping up to play at that level.
Right. Every time you meet a new level, there's a new required work of discipline. You know, your discipline and work ethic has to go up every single time you get to a new standard. It's like working out. When you start lifting weights, the same weight that 35 dumbbell that you curl every day is not going to feel heavy to you, anymore, because you reach that level. So every time you reach a new level, you have to reach a new level of work ethic, and so that's what I did. I when I got there, they exposed all my weaknesses. Like, you got to work on this, this, and this, and it was different because at prior times, and that's what happens when you get to the real pros, they're going to say exactly what you need to work on. They're not going to say, like, have you just working on things you're already good at, because you're already good at. Of course, you have to keep nurturing and maturing your game in terms of polishing up what you're good at and make those things excellent. But you have to keep on working at the things that you're not good at. And so once we got there, that's when I started doing a whole bunch of different things that I would not maybe quote unquote the best at, and so like that took discipline to keep working on those things. And we worked on those things every day, and they helped me work on it, and I worked on it in my own time as well.
Do you
But
think
yeah,
it's like important to track that progress? Like, are you a person that you're intentional obviously about improving, and are you also like intentional about being able to track that? Like, do you have
yeah.
systems where you like, is that important to you to be able to track it, or you just kind of just see over time, wow, I have gotten better? Or like, do you keep metrics of that and like milestones? Like, does that help you, or are you kind of more like, I'll just long term know that I've gotten better?
Right. So at first in my life, it was always keep working on it, it'll get better type thing. And then once I got kind of more professional about it, I started kind of keeping track. So like the number of shots I made at a certain spot, like I'm recording how my jumper looks, like different things that I didn't used to do when I was younger. And I think that does help, because I can actually put some evidence to what I'm seeing, and I think that's huge, because if you can record what you want to do and then record you doing it or whatever, that's going to lead to a result of you accomplishing that dream, And so I think the more you put, to make it plain, like it says in the Bible, The more you put something out in the open, like this is what you want, this is how I'm gonna do to get here, and then you recording the progress, you're gonna make it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna,
like it starts to motivate you even more to see the results you're getting. As
you're seeing the results along the way.
Like, oh yeah, I have gotten better. But when you start to measure it, like it kind of brings that motivation within itself. It's like,
right.
I love that. I think something else that you said that caught my eye is the idea. I feel like sometimes and I'll speak as a creative, but like we master our craft. So I can be very good. Like I'm an interior designer. I can be very good at interior design. And there's weaknesses, but I keep playing to my strengths because I know that, maybe like I'll stand out more by my strengths.
Right.
As a player, like you can't just stand out by your strengths. Like you gotta get your weaknesses to become better. And I think that as people, sometimes we just play to our strengths and kind of leave the weaknesses there because we know that we're not as great at it. And I think it's just like good practice. And I'm learning this, that like, yes, I could keep mastering my craft, keep being excellent at what I'm already good at, but not just leave what I'm not so good at behind, be intentional about making my weaknesses not be as weak, I think is something that, as you were talking, like really speaks to me because it's just, I think you're going to be you're going to be a better player, whether that's in life or, on the court once you do that.
Yeah. Cause if you don't ever work on your weaknesses, when you get to a situation where that weakness is getting exposed, then you're like, oh crap. You remember I was telling you like at the beginning, like a lot of your confidence comes through like, and especially in sports, but just in general is when you work at something. The more you work at it, the more confidence you get in it.
Yeah.
And so like once you're working on those weaknesses, when you get to that spot, you're like, oh, I already been kind of working on this. Like I'm gonna be okay, versus like, oh crap.
Here we go.
A weak spot. No. So now your mind is already at the point like it's at the top of the roller coaster. Now it's just headed straight down just because you never worked on it. Whatever that is, mental health, it could be a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah. And I think it goes full circle, it's like not attacking that weakness. The moment that you do get put in that spot, you're just going to feed negative thoughts because you're not as good at it. So it might bring you down where like, had you worked on that, it's a good way to like be prepared for those, negative thoughts. And I love that.
Exactly.
This has been awesome. I just have a few more just rapid fire questions, but we got the meaty stuff. This is incredible.
I loved it.
I love talking. I love all these types of conversations, and I hadn't really like sat down with an athlete to talk, but I really have so much admiration for athletes for just the discipline that they put through and just how they see themselves to be able to make it to the top. I think that's like super, super important because I feel like you do need, like, it's what you said, like you have to walk with that confidence. And it's not like a cocky coming from like a place that I know that I'm better than everyone else, but it's like a good, like having vision, having dream. And I think we all need that. I know personally, sometimes like I'll just play myself out to, a potential that I know is realistic. But I think that it takes so much more confidence to see yourself to a potential that maybe is impossible, but nothing is, at the end of the day, nothing is impossible for God. And I love that, God has given, like from your early life, giving you kind of that faith. And I'm sure it even comes back to maybe like your mom, but I love that. I love hearing that. It inspires me. And just I love all everything that we've talked about. But I got some rapid fire questions for you. So this is first thought fun. All right. Drake or Kanye?
Drake.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Favorite city you've lived in?
Atlanta.
What are 3 things you can't live without?
Ooh, the 2 B's. I got basketball, Bible, and then I got probably my video game. I love my video game. I know it's not the best, but I love it.
I love that. Do you have a favorite? I know you have a photographer. You're into photography. Do you have a favorite photographer that you follow?
No, I need, and that's something that I do need to get more exposed to. I don't really follow too many photography pages. I've just been kind of playing around with it. I've got some good posts that are coming. I'll tag you and I'll show you, but no, I don't have any.
Yeah, I love that. All right, this one. Describe your quarantine using 1 hashtag.
1 hashtag. Slow grind. I think that's what it is, because it's really a slow grind for me.
That's good. That's good. It's still, at least it's not just slow. It's like
exactly.
Still grinding, but
you still got to move it. Got to move it along.
I like that. All right. Do you have a secret talent?
I was a skater back in the day. I loved skate. I lived in California for 5 years, like I told you. I used to skate all the time, but then I started like breaking like my friends' boards because I was like massively bigger than them, and so they just couldn't hold my weight or like my body height. Yeah, and they were like expensive boards too. So like I kind of like slowed down or whatever, and I just kind of got to longboarding. But I still like to longboard because I can't really skate any much because it's more dangerous and I don't want to hurt my body.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, longboard, that's good. Yeah. If you could be best friends with a celebrity, what celebrity would it be?
Ooh, best friends with a celebrity. I'm trying to think of someone quick. Ooh, I'd probably go with Lecrae. I like Lecrae a lot. I've always listened to his music since I was little. He was like the first artist, one of the first like artists I really listened to on my own. And so like he spoke to me a lot growing up.
He also preaches like incredible. He once came to Boo. I don't know if
I was there. Yeah. I was there with my friends. Yeah, I was there.
I mean, I had no idea who he was, and then after that time, I was like, started like Googling, following him. I'm like, this guy's incredible. Like,
yeah, he is.
So creative, and then just like so wise when it comes to preaching. I'm like, that's goals.
He has a great story. Story.
Yeah. If there's one message you knew could get to the entire world, what would you say?
I would say.
You can think a little bit more on that one. That's our last question.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, I think the answer that everyone needs is just Jesus loves you, and I think that covers so much. Yeah, I think that'd be my answer. Just Jesus loves you. Like it doesn't matter where you come from, where you're at in life. Like Jesus loves you, and so do I. Like I'm trying to be like Christ, And so I think if we as Christians walk through life as Jesus did, like with that type of love, that's going to naturally just bring people to us, whether not even just through not even through just preaching, like if we just show them that type of love is contagious.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. That was amazing. I love that because I think a lot of the times we stop at like, Jesus loves you, but just adding that, so do I, like, it's kind of saying, because I feel like completes the whole thing. Like,
right.
Loves you because he loves me, I can love you. And I think like I've never heard like the gospel summarized in just like 3 words like that. Right. That's incredible. Right. Might borrow that from you.
Take it.
See that around.